Yeah, we should be good to go. Of course, what's going by? Welcome to Quest 18 Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Allan. Of course, joined by Earl, one of our other hosts, and we'll be joined by Jake in a bit. Yeah, what's going on, Earl? How you doing? I think Earl's staying for a bit. But yeah, let me go through the checklist for this week and talk about what we're going through for this week's podcast. As always, we're going to talk about the Lakers, all things news / rumors, but most importantly, we talk about Chris Paul potentially to the Lakers, but in general, potentially to Los Angeles, or maybe to Clippers, or maybe to the Lakers. We'll go after these rumors about new jerseys that's been going on from Pro Sports Mock, who've been talking about at least new jerseys for all the teams around the NBA. And lastly, we'll talk about NBA draft prospects who have been working out for the Lakers. We'll be providing you an update, and these at least from my point, and maybe for Earl and Jake's, at least what they've seen about the prospects that the Lakers have interviewed / worked out so far. So yeah, Jake, we see you, Earl. How you doing?
Yeah, can you hear me? All right, where this was coming from. 1 second, Allan.
Yeah, as Earl sets up as well. If you're new here, as always, like I said, feel free to drop so many questions, any hot takes about the Lakers. We always like discussing with you guys and anyone else in chat. If you're on Twitter or at least at X and you're at least watching it from that stream, from Earl's point of view, like I said, any questions, hot takes, or anything, feel free to drop them down in the chat. Any funny stuff, we're just chilling. What's going on? Oh, hey, hope you get it right, man. With your pinky. So yeah. But yeah, let me see. Set up. But yeah, let me set this up right here for first. I'm talking about these the New Jerseys. These per Pro Line Mock Sports. They're talking about a new Lakers statement jersey. We know that, of course, with the collaborations with Nike, with Jordan, with everything going on for the Lakers and many other teams around the NBA, they'll become with new jerseys. Of course, that's going to be a revolving thing every single year, which me personally, I'm not a fan of. I think we should continue with the same jerseys. Like for me personally, I grew up in the at least the 2010s. At least when I first watched basketball, 2009, where the Lakers had original jerseys that you saw. It was just the red or yellow that they wore at home. They of course wore the purple on the road, and then they wore those white jerseys on Sunday. But of course, when at least NBA started become a collaboration and sort of a corporation that relies on these heavily branded names, that's when a revolving amount of jerseys started to occur. And now we're getting another situation where that is occurring, which me personally, I'm not a fan of, but it is what it is. The Lakers and NBA make their money with them. Ratings are not doing too good from we saw from game one of the NBA Finals. So, at least for your Earl, we talked about these rumored New Jersey and also at least the revolving idea of jerseys every single year.
Yeah, can you hear me now? All right, bet. Yeah, personally, I love the jerseys a lot. I feel like for me, I know they said this is like the base of the jersey, which is cool. I love the color. I know it's like kind of like a darker, deeper purple compared to like some of these other ones we got. I love the yellow with the white outline. And I'm curious to see what the extra details they're talking about are going to be. Like, is it stuff on the sides? Is it like a trim on it or something like that? That'd be pretty cool if it was gold. But compared to I think anything could beat last year's jerseys. Not a lot of people like them. I actually got it. I bought that jersey, the LakeShowGo jersey, I'll call it. I thought it would look pretty cool, but obviously we did not have a great track record in them. So yeah, I agree with you. Like I like something just a little bit more balanced and based where it's consistent. Like we have something to look back on. It's not like something new every single year, but for a baseline jersey, it looks like a good start. Obviously, they got to add more to it, but I like the base of it. Also, I don't know about you guys, but personally speaking,
I'm here,
I think I like
Earl.
the solid purple look a lot.
I'm here.
Yo,
Can you guys hear me?
yeah.
Okay, bet. I'm gonna get my camera in like a second here. Oh, you know what? I think it's plugged in. I'm just holding it. Hey guys, it's me. Yeah, I'll get that set up in a second. But I love this jersey that you guys are discussing. I don't know what the sentiment is. I saw a lot of hate online. I mean, one of the posts is mine. I don't think that one's mine, but oh yeah, that one's not mine. But I posted one of them. I know Mark did, a bunch of people did. And okay, I'll be honest. I'm not sure any of this is real. Oh yeah, Kaden, the playback layout is so different on the phone. I'm on the computer right now. It looks the exact same though. Playback, yes, major playback update that they did, probably because of us. We told them to hurry it up months ago, and they said they weren't going to do it, and then they did. But anyway, the jersey. I don't think it's real. And I don't know if you guys were saying that because the problem is, Allan, if you click this account or click the Pro Line Mockups account, they had posted essentially city jerseys for every team, which then they walked back and said, wait, how do you get them all in one place? That's impressive. They said these are incomplete city jerseys and there could be changes to the trim or colors. And then they posted the statement jerseys for a couple teams, including us. I would be thrilled if those are real. Someone had this complaint. They said the Laker ones look like the Summer League jerseys. And I agree to a certain extent, like the practice jerseys is a better way of putting it. I'll see if I can find mine. I have an AD one that looks exactly like that from practice. But that is now you're correct purple. I think you're leaning more towards gold. You can still say it's yellow, but leaning more towards it. And then you don't have the black trim or whatever you call it, which was ugly. You don't combine black and purple. That doesn't make sense. They don't go together. And I'm a huge fan of those. Like if they drop, and overall people were positive. Lakers fans always complain, but if they drop those jerseys, whenever they do, I'm buying one. Probably a Luka one. I already have a Luka like yellow jersey, but I think those are super tough, man, and clean. And I like the modern approach that NBA takes, but what they do try to do is mix modern with retro hard. And I'm not just saying that. Like, look at that Wizards one right there. They're going for the old Gilbert Arenas look with modern. And I'm just sometimes when they combine these, I'm a microphone now, Kaden. I don't love when they do too much with it, but this would be like a very clean and simple Lakers jersey. I'll see if I have my AD one, but you guys can continue. I'm going to set up my camera.
I also saw some reports as well. Like I think obviously with the whole Jordan brand being on that jersey, I think arguably that is fake. Normally it's a Nike jersey, or of course they do like was it Babigo that they do for their specific Lakers brand / sponsorship. So like I said, the mock draft of having a Jordan jersey doesn't seem too real about it, but like I said, new jerseys are going to be a revolving thing. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think that the Lakers could be more creative in their jerseys. They're just throwing out ideas, and I think like this not to least shout out workers or at least blame them, but it's like the people who are calling the shots within this Lakers organization creatively doesn't seem too smart when it comes to their jersey prints.
Sorry to jump back in. I completely agree. They're not smart creatively, and they should hire me. I applied to like another coordinator job or something. Lakers, I'm ready to go. And I do this. I do marketing. I do social media. I do design all the time. But I do agree But let's not take any of that out on the Lakers, because I know that there's one jersey the Lakers control, and it's the city jersey, which they leave in the hands of the team. When Nike took over, it's not about team decisions. And I'm not saying they don't have any input, but Nike and the NBA, probably mostly Nike, will come up with what the Lakers statement jersey has to be. And they've kind of that's always been the purple one from my understanding. And also, Allan, like the Jordan thing, I'm 90% sure that statement jerseys are all Jordan. So that was the logic for that. Because you know how like every jersey is Nike, and then it used to be like the Hornets were Jordan because like he used to own the team and stuff. I'm pretty sure NBA statement, like when they use that word, that means Jordan. I'm going to double check that again. But I think that was the change that they ended up making. It was either that or, yeah, so the city one is definitely Nike. Why is it just showing me city? I want to see like the Jordan.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The one like the black and purple one. That one has Jordan on that one.
Right. So that, those definitely did. So that is what I thought. But again, like those are all mock-ups. I mean, the account is called mock-ups. So they're claiming to make a mock-up based on what they're hearing. But if it's like missing a BBGO, it's just because they didn't put a BBGO. You know what I mean? Like it'll never be a real picture of the jersey. And they kind of are taking the NBA world by storm on Twitter the last like day or two, because they dropped for every team pretty much. And so it just feels like a very coordinated effort by like a good graphic designer. And that's it. And so I don't know what we know or don't know, but that's all I have on that topic. Where'd Earl go? Come back, Earl. There was one other topic I wanted to ask you guys about. Allan, you're going to have to tell me if you wrote this down, especially like for the recording and when we clip stuff. Did you write down to talk about like the NBA finals and the presentation of it all?
I did not. He obviously can go into that. I think like we at least later, and I was going to go into like a finals preview. But yeah,
all right,
we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it then. I'm good with that. But I have some thoughts, like I'll say later on this show about the presentation. I think you guys would agree from like ESPN side and the NBA side. And I can tell you guys, like I've listened to a bunch of podcasts or YouTube video. I should say YouTube videos the last few days that were podcasts talking about the finals and the presentation. And I don't want to be like too repetitive. You guys have probably seen some of the stuff, but it is kind of embarrassing what's happening. So we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. Peace. Of course. Now with Jake back, we can go into our main segment for this podcast. And we're talking about Chris Paul. Of course, returning to Los Angeles. Oh, he's potentially returning to Los Angeles. He talked about with Pat McAfee on his show / podcast. He talked about how he's been away from his family. And of course, his family is primarily based in Los Angeles. So, of course, we connect the dots and everything going on. It kind of throws out there that Chris Paul is going to be returning to Los Angeles for being a Clipper or for being a Laker. So at least for both Jake and Earl, would you want Chris Paul on the Lakers? And more or less, like, what are your thoughts on him as a player and how could he fit?
Can y'all hear me? All right, bet. Personally, I kind of been wanting this. I wanted Chris Paul to be a Laker last season. I feel like we can all admit our bench unit is not the best. I would easily take Chris Paul over Gabe Vincent any day of the week right now on this team. And what happens is you have a guy who knows how to control the game, right? Coming off the bench. He won't start with Luka and LeBron. That's not what he's here for, especially if there's a case where you have Austin Reeves who's staying on the team. We talked about we needed better guard production off the bench. I think Chris Paul can provide that. Also, he's still a decent enough a defender, a great playmaker. He can still score to some ability, like he says in mid-range game. We've seen Chris Paul take over in some moments last year and the year before that. So he's definitely capable of it. So for me, if we're looking at a roll off the bench, not sure what the whole contract will look like. Obviously, it wouldn't be too expensive. Probably a vet min or maybe a little bit more than that, I would assume. I'm doing it easily. I don't think that takes away from the fact that obviously we still do need a another center. Well, 2 centers, I feel like. One via trade, one via sign. But yeah, I like the idea of bringing Chris Paul in. I think it makes sense. He has chemistry with Bron already. I mean, this is something that's been looming their whole career. The Banana Boat brothers. He's the last one who hasn't played with LeBron. It just makes sense.
Yeah, Earl. I think like the first rebuttal to what you said, if I was like an average Laker fan online, which probably also means I'm an idiot. And I know Kaden was like mentioning like Chris Paul and the Gabe Vincent thing. I was thinking someone would say to you, well, like, who cares that he's better than Gabe Vincent? That doesn't matter. Gabe Vincent's horrible. But to me, I very much agree with you. I think it directly matters. That's literally the role that he would be in terms of the minutes or just the position off the bench. It clearly matters. And so now if you're making a choice between the two, which is a very likely situation, then I think everyone would take Chris Paul. He's a guy I've wanted for a few years, like you said. The best thing about Chris Paul is I know my offense is going to be set up in the second unit. So let's say, let's say Austin Reeves is out one day, and so Luka's starting, and then Luka comes out. Okay, I don't want Gabe Vincent setting up my offense. We saw some stretches, all right? There's not that much that needs to be said. He can't pass or play make. He can't dribble. He's basically just like stand at the top of the key, and he was an okay shooter at times, but Chris Paul is going to get other guys where they need to go, and that's so important. I would argue like off the bench, that's more important. And you can have the superstars in the starting lineup who put people in the right position, like a LeBron or Luka, but when they're not in all game, what was your plan when they weren't? And it was probably like stagger Austin, but you're one injury away from one of those three of having no one who can run an offense. So you're kind of back to square one, or not even injury, like they can't play one game or something. So having Chris Paul around would be super helpful. If we sign him, it would also make me feel like we're going to win the championship because he has 0 rings. So that's kind of how I would like envision it, of like he's hopping on to hopefully win one with Bron and Luka. And I would argue that he could teach Luka a lot because in the weirdest way, they do have somewhat similar styles of play when it comes to being, and this is Chris most of his career, slower, unathletic, obviously really short. He was athletic when he first got in the league, but slower, unathletic, can still get any pass off, can still get by people because of how they dribble. So I think like my number one mentor, if he was still a player for Luka, is probably Rondo. Like you get Rondo again, I'd feel good about Luka. But Chris Paul is up there as well. And they, the whole meme of them getting confused for each other. As far as the money last thing, Kaden said like he'd pay him a taxpayer MLE. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. I love you, Kaden. But like either you have the full MLE because Bron took a pay cut and then you don't have that. You don't have that at all. But if you did have the taxpayer MLE and all you did was use it on Chris Paul and everyone else was minimums, that's really bad, dude. Like you're not going to feel good going into next season. Right now, people are throwing out names like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Quentin Grimes, Naz Reid. And I'm not saying we get those guys. But if you're going down to like 40, 41-year-old Chris Paul plus then just minimums, that's not a good free agency. So the only route this works is minimum. And I think it's a good minimum signing. And I think if you trade Gabe and then you get this on the minimum, this is great. But I always envisioned what he was saying the last week as going back to the Clippers, not the Lakers, because the Clippers is a perfect fit for him, especially if he's like, I think he's like cool coming off the bench at this point. So yeah, stagger him with Harden. I don't think we need to see that at the same time, but I think it's a really good fit. They need a bench point guard badly. They didn't like Chris Dunn, even though I personally do. But I get it. I was at a Clippers playoff game. Chris Dunn can't contribute in certain ways. And then also just I think that organization loves him so much. So I envision it as him going to the Clippers, but I would be happy with him on the Lakers on the minimum.
Yeah, then I'll add on to that too. Like, I know we talked about mentorship with Luka, I would even throw mentorship with Bronny. Like, we see these reports about Bronny potentially taking a step up in his role with the team next year. Bronny's kind of on the smaller guard side of type of situation, two-way player. I think Chris Paul is a great mentor for him. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously LeBron is LeBron. Like, that's his dad. He can learn a lot from his game. But as far as like size and how he can impact the game that way, I think Chris Paul is a great mentor, because when you think about like people you can actively listen to, it has to be like a Hall of Fame level player. Like, no disrespect to anybody on the roster. I think Luka's still a little bit young, obviously. Why we talked about him, Chris Paul being a mentor for Luka as well. I just think Chris Paul would be that perfect fit to kind of lock in Brian. Like, hey, this is what you should be doing. This is how you set up your teammates. Because realistically, he's going to be playing that 2/1 position off the bench if he's going to be a rotational player for this team next season. So I think it's a perfect situation. But I do agree with Jake. It does make way more sense career-wise for him to go back to the Clippers. I mean, homecoming, has connections there already. Literally perfect fit off the bench for him. Like, it's written like a perfect script, perfect comeback script. But the other part of me feels like LeBron and Chris Paul, that whole thing has been looming in the air for literally forever. Part of me feels like maybe he takes that chance just because if we're going to go to LA anyways, why not do 1 year with my brother that I haven't got a chance to play with in my career and just see how it goes. So if that does happen, I think it'd be perfect for Bronny, in my opinion. Definitely speaking on his trajectory.
Well, I agree about Bronny, but I do want to say, like, and these are two celebrities, we don't know them, but I would say it very much appears that Chris Paul and LeBron James are not as close as they used to be. And I'm not trying to make this like a gossip thing. I don't know if anything happened or not. Who knows? But let's be honest. He's way closer with Carmelo and Dwayne Wade and the other guys, and he has been for years. And I don't remember seeing Chris Paul and LeBron together for years. If it's off season, whatever. We don't know them. They could be hanging out. I don't know. But yeah, I very much agree about Bronny. And yeah, I do think the Clippers are a natural fit, though. So we'll see. Interesting name. But, and also, like, last thing, like, we've kind of assumed now that he's done with ring chasing, quote unquote, because he goes to the Spurs, and it's clearly just like a development situation, pass the torch. He probably thought he was playing for Greg Popovich, I would assume, right? That was even the beginning of this year. So there was that. And then, you know, I'm sure he still talked to Popovich a lot. They're close. And then Victor and everything going into year two, also getting Fox and Castle coming in as a rookie. Like, that was fun. And I'm sure he liked that. So to me, like, if he goes to the Clippers, he's going to finish his career with 0 rings because it'll probably just be the last year of his career and they're not going to win a ring. But I would argue, unbiased, I think the Lakers have like a very strong chance to win a ring if they build this roster right this offseason with a full year of Luka and, you know, just do whatever in the regular season and then just be ready. I trust LeBron's mentality and Luka's playoff mentality and track record. We only got to see one weird circumstance series from him as a Laker. I would trade Reeves personally to help get a championship, but that's a different topic. But yeah, I think Chris can easily win a ring on the Lakers. He could easily not too, you never know. But look how wide open it was this year. And like, there's going to be a point where we can take the Thunder. That's the reality. Is they're going to be the team to beat. They're going to be the 1 seed. We're going to be the 3 seed, 2 seed, 5 seed, whatever. We're going to have to play the Thunder in round 2 or 3. You already know we're going to play the Thunder next year. It's locked in as much as something can be because we're going to have to play them in round 2 or 3. And if we build the team thinking this is how we can beat the Thunder with Luka and LeBron, and you feel like you can do that, then like Chris has a really good chance to win a ring, but they're not going to win a ring. And I know the Clippers story. I was at game 6 of the first round this year. It's the same story every year. They're a great regular season team for stretches, and it's the same thing every year. So you're not going to win on the Clippers, but they love you and you love them. So do you pick that over something where you feel like you have a decent shot to get a ring? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, you guys bring some valid points. I'll just bring up an altogether, at least for the Lakers side, and say that Chris Paul's not a need, but just a want in this case. Like I said, they have Gabe Vincent. He can be the backup point guard. Now, it's not ideal, and likely we would want a replacement or have to include him in a contract to upgrade this roster. But for right now, Gabe Vincent is going to be our backup point guard if Rob Pelinka decides otherwise. But yeah, like I said, Chris Paul would be a great addition for the Lakers, a great point guard, a valid guy to put behind Luka and have him mentor him, and also, like Earl said, mentor Bronny, and just be another vocal person in this roster that we sort of been missing, because we know that our vocal leaders are LeBron James, maybe Luka, JJ Redick, of course, the head coach, and maybe some other guys, Austin, or maybe even Dorian Finney-Smith, who knows, at this point when it comes to the Lakers rotation / roster. So Chris Paul would be not a need, but a want overall.
I know Markieff is a vocal leader, like jokes aside, but he's probably not coming back. And you know what I mean? And that was so short. Allan, you just brought up, like, again, Gabe Vincent. Like, if I asked you right now, and maybe it's something we could look back on, do you think Gabe Vincent will be the backup point guard for the Lakers at the start of next season? Like, what's your answer to that?
I would say yes. I think that they should prioritize, and I think they're likely going to prioritize. We'll talk about later who they've been interviewing so far in terms of prospects, in terms of these workouts, but they've been prioritizing the wings / bigs, and I think that point guard is not their worry right now. Like I said, there are some point guards in this current draft who I think I would also go for. Shout out Ryan Hard out of Gonzaga, which I think would be a good backup who can develop under Luka. But as of right now, Gabe Vincent would be my projected starting point guard. Sorry, backup point guard.
Backup point, yeah. I know that it looks like it right now, and I hear you. I don't see it, because when you have a guy that, and for better or worse, Rob has been willing to make changes. Let's be so honest. Like, there was one offseason, was it last offseason, where we didn't make any changes, right? And they ran it back. And I did think that was bullshit, and I hated that. And we were doing the podcast and talking, and it sucked. But now that you have 2 years of the Gabe experiment not working out, even though he's a bench player, I think backup point guard is too important to you, and the contract's too large. With the minimal flexibility we have, no one is safe who has a contract larger than a vet min. I would go as far to say Jackson Hayes is way more likely to be back as the backup center, which I also don't want, or a third string center, than Gabe is to be back. Because if you can get Hayes for $2 million or whatever the vet min is now, you don't care about doing that. And so I think Gabe's contract, I mean, he's expiring now. This is the first time he's expiring. That was something we couldn't discuss. We remember Dorian Finney-Smith that we got from the Nets, which I think was a fantastic trade still. We did that with the expiring contract of D'Angelo Russell. And so Gabe was not on an expiring, and the Nets, in a case like that, wouldn't have taken him. And now I think people will. But also, Allan, and I just asked Allan the start of the season, if we said mid-season, is he the backup point guard? I would say there's a 0% chance based on how I understand the Lakers, because expiring with half a year left at the deadline, he's not going to survive past that, even if he comes back for the start of the season. So I think a lot's going to change, but I want a traditional backup point guard. At this point, it's like, who would it be, dude? Like, you look at this free agency class, guys, like, it sucks. And this is the NBA nowadays. Free agency is going to suck. And I'm okay with that because of the electric nature of the trade market, which is the best in professional sports. The best trade market mid-season and off-season in professional sports. I was sitting at dinner with family and McCall Bridges gets traded for 5 to 6 picks. Then you see the Downs trade just out of nowhere. We all know what happened at this deadline. So the trades are king now in the NBA. And I think drafting is obviously super important. But the free agency list of point guards or centers does not look good. So I'm not really looking forward to free agency. The only thing I would look forward to, again, different topic, we'll keep touching on it. It's less than a month now, right? When is it this year? Do you know, Allan? I'm going to look it up also. free agency?
Like 17 days, I think.
17 days? Is that how early it is?
Yeah.
Oh, so
June
you're saying
25th.
it's the draft? The same as the draft?
Talking about free agency?
Oh, you were talking about the draft. Okay.
Free agency, like,
Oh, June 30th.
Yeah.
Is when they it's still like that thing where it becomes official signing players July 6th, midday. But yeah, June 30th. So that is what, 22 days away? And the only thing I'm looking for the Lakers is it's somehow going to be like LeBron declines and takes a little less money and you can get to wherever you need to get to for the full MLE. And I have a feeling that he will, because last year he was willing to and didn't. He still took a pay cut. Everyone forgets that last year, to be under like the second apron or whatever it was. But I think LeBron will this time, if they have the sense that we can get Nikhil or Nas or one of the top free agents who makes sense for the team. I think he'll do it. So that's the only thing I'm looking for free agency for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, I did not like how Gabe Vincent's consistency was this season. I just don't imagine him as a point guard, if that makes sense. Like, is he a good catch shooter? Sure. I just don't think he's the playmaker we need to be our straight up backup. And I agree. I think we need like a traditional PG. I think we're kind of losing the plot a little bit. I think you trade Gabe Vincent's contract, combine it with some other guys to go get a decent center. Get another point guard on this team, and then if they're talking about Brian the way they are, I guess he'll be the backup two-ish, the second or third backup two on the roster, and I think I'm cool with that. But I still think you need a real point guard on this roster. And I agree with the fact that like Chris Paul is not a necessity. A center is. Like I'd rather have a decent center and a great center. So two centers than Chris Paul and sign a whole bunch of MLEs or better minimums. I agree too. Like you don't use that MLE full and only on Chris Paul. It just makes no sense for the way this team is going. Like we need bigs, we need athletic guys Luka can throw lobs to and stuff like that. Those are the type of players you have to target, right? So I agree. I just think it's kind of dry. The market is dry. Like Jake said, it's more of a trade game. Like this season, last season and a half has been, if you want a player, you go trade for him. Free agency for us is just not going to be like this big bang that people might expect it to be, personally. So I'm thinking you probably use Gabe Vincent in a center deal, combine that with a different contract, and maybe a guard is attached to that. I don't know.
I forgot like John Collins is an unrestricted free agent. Like he would be so nice if he took like an insane discount. You know who else is a free agent? Luka Garza, who I've wanted for a few years as a project. Doesn't solve anything for us per se, but I love the idea of him as a project. He would be fun in summer league. Holy shit, he would average like, I don't know if he could still play. He's 26. But yeah, I'm looking at the list right now of everyone who's out there for centers. Kind of, some of them are like kind of power forwards, and there's only a few options I would even consider. Like I have a Steven Adams profile picture on X. I still think he's the perfect backup center, Steven Adams. But he was such a good backup center and dominant in a way because of especially offensive rebounding that the Rockets they're not going to want to lose him is kind of where we got to. So I don't think he's going to be available. I don't hate the idea of Clint Capella as a backup center, but it would have to be like now he goes down and takes the minimum. Like that's what I would need for that for Clint. Yeah, John Collins would be sick. He gets paid so much already. I don't see it. Like Day'Ron Sharpe's a restricted free agent. Nets will match it. Jericho Sims is available if you want him. To me, he's Jackson Hayes, so I don't understand all that. Mo Wagner's an unrestricted free agent. Would love him. And I wanted him to stay on the Lakers. But it was right when we thought we were getting Kawhi and right after we got AD. So I didn't mind that they made that trade to free up space. It was like Mo Wagner, Isaac Bonga, and someone else to the Wizards. I'd be cool with Mo Wagner. But again, all this is like conditional on if they barely take any money because none of them are perfect fits to solve our needs, which is clearly why you have to trade for the starting level center. But as Earl said, and I've been a big proponent on this, like you need 2 centers. Like, yeah, is Luke Cornett the worst thing in the world that you traded for like Claxton? You drafted Ryan Kalkbrenner. Maybe you either drafted a center or kept Jackson Hayes, and then you also have Luke Cornett. That's fine. That's not, and I think you want one of your bigs to be able to shoot because Rob talked about, and other people with the team, the idea of bigs who can do different things. Then they proceeded to do, Hayes, Koloko, and Jemison who could do nothing. Any of them. Like Hayes, you could argue can dunk. And that was it. But they said they wanted centers who do different things, Earl. So, like, show me that by getting one center who can shoot, but somehow can still rebound. Don't discard the rebounding side. And then give me a big body traditional center who can catch lobs and is athletic. All right. So, there's not a lot of options, right? And how many times has a free agent from the Celtics, to your point, Allan, signed with the Lakers? Not that they hate us. It's very, very, very rare, right? And Rondo had been on all these other teams. And I don't know. DeAndre Jordan's on a free agent. He's 36. Like, he needs to get out of my league. And I respect him. But, like, why are you here, dude? And the Nuggets employing him as the backup for as long as they have now is ridiculous. Thomas Bryant's an unrestricted free agent. Bull's an unrestricted. And it's misfit toys, right? You look at this list, it's misfit toys. Andre Drummond, who somehow is still only 31. Like, I'm not opposed to that, but he's so much slower and so much worse than he used to be. I would think he's 36. But yeah, like Andre as a backup over Hayes, for example, oh my God, I'd be thrilled. That's how bad I think Hayes is. Like, I would take most of these guys. I'd probably take Kai Jones over Hayes. I'd take Cornett over Hayes. Brooke Lopez, the free agent, I'd take him over Hayes. Day'Ron Sharp over Hayes. Jericho Sims over Hayes. Mo Wagner over Hayes. I'd rather have Bull than Hayes. This is how low I am on Hayes. Anyway, getting a little carried away. But yeah, it's not a great free agency market, especially for centers.
Yeah, I agree. Like, anybody is better than Hayes, bro. I'll take an undrafted rookie to take Hayes' spot, bro. I can go get any undrafted, unpolished rookie to do exactly what Hayes is doing, but 10 times better because they're motivated. They want a contract. They want to be a part of an organization. They're not going to take advantage of the situation, the opportunity, I mean. So I pray we never see Hayes in a Lakers jersey again. At this point, there's no point. He's not good enough. First of all, allegations, absolutely crazy. His game is not even that good to be keeping this dude around when he's not even a good person, respectfully. So at this point, let him go. Don't pay him. I don't care how cheap it is. We don't need him. Jake just named 15 people better than Jackson Hayes. We can make a whole list of guys who probably are in the league right now. We can re-sign who's better than Jackson Hayes. So I'm over it. We got to stop giving these dudes who barely make the quotas like this money. Like Hayes, max out vertical, cool. He can jump. Wow. Cool. He can block JJ Redick in practice in block drills. Wow. So cool. Like, let's up the standard. Get all these guys. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see Trey. I know Trey Jemison, it was a funny meme, joke, whatever. I'm over it. We're done with that. Alex Lynn, collect your check and go, bro. At that point, you just got free money, whatever. It happens. You tried something. He played what? Less than a minute of Lakers basketball got paid $2 million, something crazy like that. Wish life without ease for everybody else. Just gotta be almost 7 foot tall, I guess. But yeah, that experiment over. Stop being goofy. Go sign a center. Low market center. Like you said, perfect formula. Draft a center, trade for a center, sign a center. I think you have to do those three things. No center who was on this team should be back with the Lakers at all, period. None of those guys should ever put on Lakers jersey again. It's over.
I love
Personally, that's
that,
how I feel.
Earl. Earl, that should be like the motto or something they hang up this summer, like in all seriousness, like draft, sign, and trade, because I think then you'll have your three going forward. Yes, the draft one may not pan out, but if they do, what will happen is they step in as the backup center in year 2 or 3 to whoever you just signed. Like if it's Andre Drummond as backup center, you're going to want to replace him soon too. It's just going to happen. So like I'm looking at the big board and, you know, Allan knows more about all this than anyone, but like 65 on the big board, Mohamed Faye. I'd rather have him than Jackson Hayes. He's probably, he might not get drafted. He might. Vlad Golden probably won't get drafted. Allan, I told you that I didn't like his game and didn't think he'd be a great NBA player. I'd rather have Vlad Golden, 7'1", 255 from Michigan than Hayes. And then as you go down like a Rocco Zakarski, who some people don't like, he's 7'4", 260. I'd rather have him than Hayes. I don't know. I said it a second ago. I just think Hayes is the worst player ever. I think if you started Andre Drummond at center in the Timberwolves series, there's a world where you get one more game than you did when you were with Hayes. What's up, Matt? How are you doing? But yeah, let's continue on. We could go to the next thing.
Yeah, of course, speaking of not great, let's talk about, at least, as Jake mentioned earlier, the NBA Finals presentation. It's been a little step back in what we've seen in previous years. I'll have Jake lead this one.
Wait, sorry. What am I leading? I wasn't even ready.
The NBA Finals presentation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're on that already. Wow, time flies. Okay, so, and maybe even I'll share my screen to this. Let's see. What I'm going to talk about, I guess I'll start with this. Number one, the court, right? The Thunder. Shit, it's showing me shit from like other finals. I'll just have to explain it. If you could find anything, pull it up about it, Allan. But the NBA Finals court, OKC, Indiana. Earl, do you know how many times there was a mention of the NBA Finals on the court? Anything that indicates it?
1.
0. 0 times anything indicated the NBA Finals. Instead, there were massive projected YouTube TV ads. And at one point, someone mentioned another ad too. I forgot what it was. Some other like partner they have. There were no mentions on the court of the NBA Finals, where in the past they previously had a final script, which I definitely can show an example of that here. A lot of people will remember. See you, Matt. But yeah, that they had that NBA final script here, like on the Heat court. And then obviously they used to have the trophy as well, which like a lot of people remember from crypto. Here's like the Celtics Mavs court from last year. I believe there actually was some sort of finals thing on it. Definitely not the trophy, but somewhere here there was. And so what they've started to do is hide things from us. And a lot of people are speculating it could be because of like they don't care about Thunder Pacers and they want it to go away. But there was nothing that mentions the finals. It was obviously it's a very light OKC blue. I would say the indicator to me, Earl, is that they all wear the shirts. That's how you know it's playoff time. And then it takes a kind of a real NBA fan, if you were just watching, to decipher that the Pacers are in the East and the Thunder in the West, and the Thunder fans are wearing the shirt, so it must be the finals. So my topic and kind of what I'm talking about here is how much things have shifted with the energy, and you're not making it feel special. And shout out to like Pardon My Take was talking about this. I was listening to the LA local news. I saw Fox Sports. I saw The Ringer. So now everyone's here's the YouTube TV. Let's see if we can see this. Shoot. I don't know how to, but anyway, right there in the corner, there and the other corner, like YouTube TV, instead of the final script. And so now everyone's talking about this, and a lot of people are curious. Does Adam Silver, after so much discussion about how bad the broadcast was, do they make a change even in game 2? Because even if they don't go to the court and put in where did the Heat picture go? The script that was like written out. Oh, right there. Even if they can't add this with what they do digitally now, like, can you do something about it? I would guess that it's like their best advertising opportunity, if we're being honest. Like, they can make a lot of money, and I do understand that. And that's where you see YouTube TV the last years and the other ads. But it's not even feeling like the finals anymore. And I think to like a casual basketball fan, even if you turn this on, like, what's to say this wasn't a regular season game? Especially when it's Thunder Pacers. You're not walking into Lakers Celtics. I'm going to go back to the court from 2010. The court is just the first problem, though. Yeah, so like this is, we all know about this, but this is obviously what it used to be. Facebook's blurry, but they had like the giant trophy. Right here is like one, you could see the finals up there, like on the Lakers Jumbotron. They had script. Look at this. This is on the court. Like, this isn't digital right there on the ground, the finals. And it just felt different. And I think it's like sad what's, happened to the league, that they don't even care about the biggest series. And I think the NFL and the MLB, say what you will, but that's not the case. When it's the Super Bowl, it's the Super Bowl. And I could pull up like the Super Bowl field. Which one is the one I liked? But like, for example, Chiefs Eagles, you have that and that. But you can't do anything to let us know it's the finals. And then that was just one. Number 2 was the ESPN finals broadcast. And I think this is all like an ESPN problem and an NBA problem. Okay, multiple things. What the actual hell happened to this group? Okay. And by the way, I remember when people would kind of complain slightly about Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy. It wasn't all smooth sailing. And I think they were doing it in a joking way, but they still expected them to be there. What did you do to go from these three who were electric together, and Mark Jackson and Jeff added so much to this, which this is bullshit. I like Richard Jefferson. Why is he doing the finals? Doris is awful how she talks about the game, in my opinion. And this is our podcast. I'm not trying to say that because she's a woman. In fact, we've always all loved Doris Burke until she started doing the finals ESPN calls, right? Whether it was last year or 2 years ago. And so now there's reports coming out like this. Again, I know it's blurry. Doris Burke's finals future up in the air. And I think Richards is too, because I think they're going to walk back on that team. So that was like my number 2 thing. The number 3 thing is presentation and having some class. Let's say this is the 22 finals. They're talking about it. They have something up for it on ESPN. It's always on ABC or ESPN. And right here, 2019, I do like that scoreboard they had. They got the gold outline like that. They got an NBA Finals thing presented by YouTube TV, which is still a lot better because you have NBA Finals. And so I'm wondering, like, where the attention to detail went with all of this. Like, what happened where you don't care anymore? Why did the Warriors in 22 have this final script? And now we don't even have that. And 2022 I didn't think that was a great finals year either, presentation-wise. But it was a lot better than what it is now. And I think just overall, my kind of point is it's gotten really sad how little they care, where you barely know it's the finals. Like in this image right here, it shows it on the Jumbotron, which they take away when the game starts. Like, who cares, dude? Like, you didn't show us any of that. The starting lineup intros are gone and off air. And even if they do something, they suck. And I wish NBC was getting the finals. I don't think they are. I think that's still like an ABC, ESPN thing. But NBC, I'm pretty sure when they did have the NBA finals, it was a very good broadcast of it all. It was way older whenever they had the NBA on NBC and stuff. I thought they did a great job, but I just don't know what's happened. Why every year? This is my overall point. Why every year do they care less and less about how they market the biggest event in the NBA? I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but we've come a long way from how they marketed Cavs Warriors in 2016, which to me was probably the best finals. You could argue the peak because it was going uphill and the NBA was great, and then it went downhill after that. We've come a long way from that to this one, which, and don't even get me started on Mike Breen's calls. I tweeted this. What were you doing on the Andrew Nembhard shot? Mike Breen forgot Nembhard's name. He forgot I think it was the score or something else. He just got him wrong, like hesitated, had to pause, finished his sentence. And then on the Halliburton call, he didn't sound that excited to me for essentially a buzzer beater, 0.3 seconds left, in an NBA Finals game in which Tyrese Halliburton now has had 4 game winners, 4 kind of miracles. He didn't sound too excited to me. And I don't know if that's because of the other 2 he's with now. I doubt it. I think that's more on him. But where's the energy and the passion that you used to have when it was this group? And it was just so fun. So, like, I really miss what we used to have. And the last thing I'll say on that, someone brought up the point. They're like, are we being grumpy old men for complaining about how things used to be? And then, like, they kind of realized, I think whatever podcast that was, no, because we're still kind of asking for the bare minimum, which is for you to care about the presentation and the quality of your biggest event as a league. That's all we're asking for from ESPN, ABC, the NBA. I just don't understand where we went wrong. And if you're trying to hide Pacers Thunder, which some are speculating, that's just a theory, you're still making a mistake because when's the last time we got a buzzer beater, a game winner like that in the finals at all? I don't remember. You could argue something with 30 seconds left with Steph or something, but like, I don't remember. And it goes back to like 2016, right? If Danny Green hit that in 2020, you had one right there. But it's been a long time. And for you to not care, essentially, as that was happening, that was extremely disappointing. So my message to them is like, again, they've never hired me when I apply to jobs, lower down jobs. But I'm like, well, whoever you do have for the creative team, the marketing is doing a horrible job. Like doing, I would say, like negative work to advertise this. There's another, KD game winner versus Cavs. And Allan, like, dude, there was 30, 40 seconds left. No, 20 seconds, whatever it was. Like, Tyrese was 0.3 seconds in the first game, and no one cares. Social media cares. The NBA is the best league by far on social media. The fans, what they post, the other outlets who post them, fantastic on social media. But the presentation and the broadcast is a joke. And after Nuggets, Heat, and then Dallas, Boston, which frankly sucked, like another 5-game boring series. Luka couldn't get anything off. This is how you're coming back when you have 2 fun young teams. I get their small market. I understand that. But why are we disrespecting this? So after you get that buzzer beater pretty much in game 1, and people are hype about the finals, I've barely seen anything about the finals online in the last 2 days or 3 days. With a 3-day break, that would indicate that today is the finals again. It's in an hour and a half or something. I'm going to my cousin's house to watch. And again, no one cares. And I'm wondering, after the circumstances of game 1 and all the complaints, are you going to make any changes? Because that's what I want to see. I mean, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I know I just talked everyone's ear out.
Yeah, I'll just say, obviously for us, like we've been watching the game of basketball for a long time. Particularly me too. I'll call myself Uncle, whatever you guys want to call it. I've seen a bunch of NBA finals, and personally, this one has been marketed the least amount I've ever seen. Like you said, it's the details. For us, like when you get to the end game, not even only for us, but for the players too. Like you want to walk on a court and it says the NBA finals. Like you see videos of like shout out to NFL, like you said, players go walk on the field before the game. Like they talk about it, like, hey, you see that logo on the field, like you know it's time to play. Like you're playing for the ultimate reward to win a championship. And players have to feel that too. So not seeing that finals on the floor, or even us as fans, like the broadcast, you'll see NBA finals stuff pop up all the time between commercial break, like the nice layout here where you see the finals, game 7, like all those different details make it feel like, hey, we're watching the pinnacle of basketball. That's what this is. And I just haven't felt that. And thank God for Tyrese Halliburton. Thank God for the Pacers in Oklahoma City for putting on a showcase game like that. Because to be honest, if there was no buzzer beater, if there was no game winner, if there was no last 8 minutes of the game where it felt like that, a lot of people probably would have said that was one of the worst games we've seen as far as like markability, just watching the game in general. It would have added up to what people thought would be a flop. Personally, that's how I feel. So the players are doing their part of carrying this finals, but I feel like the broadcast team, Doris Burt, man, people swear, like, I promise you, I'm not a hater. I'm not. But I just can't listen to Doris Burt. I can't, bro. I'm sorry. I can't. I didn't like it with Lakers games. NBA Finals is on a whole new level. And then Mike Breen, bro, Hall of Fame gatekeeper. I don't care, bro. He values that bang, bang. He's patting it. He made it more about himself than the game. And I think when he start flipping that switch, they start lying about it. Oh, I don't call it on 2-point shots. Kobe literally did. He called it for Kobe. I'm pretty sure there's more instances where he's called it on 2-point shots before as well. And we're talking about this team came back down 15 plus. Tyrese Halliburton, who's been almost the coldest player on the court all night, takes a contested off his back leg 2-point shot fadeaway. One of the hardest shots to make in general, especially if you're cold in the basketball game, to win the game with .03 left on the clock. And you can't do the bang call because it's not a 3. Like, that's what we talk about, bro. Like, we want to be hyped as fans. Like, I was watching the game with my dad. We were hyped. He kind of fell asleep a little bit. I'm like, hey, wake up. Tyrese Halliburton just hit a game winner. We're over there celebrating. Like, it's like a crazy moment because us as fans, like, that's what we live for. Watching the game, like, that is the peak ending to a game as a sports fan you want to see. Unless it was you're not on the winning side, basically. You hate it at the moment, but you love it as a fan. Like, that's what the stakes are. And when the NBA is not taking that serious, like Adam Silver, he prides himself on being a businessman. Well, this is the worst business move I've ever seen. You not marketing the games. Like, and the 3 days between, I agree too. Like, what have I seen online, like commercial wise, social media wise, like, oh, the game's today? Nothing. The only reason I know the game is today is because I am just like a super basketball fan. I just know. But there was nothing. I didn't wake up on my phone, look at my phone, and see NBA account tweeting, oh, a promo video or account tweeting or something like that. Maybe they did. I don't know, but it wasn't memorable, right? So I just feel like they're slacking, man. Like, the only people keeping up with their part of this deal right now are the players, man. And God forbid it's a blowout tonight, bro. People are gonna probably go back to say this could be the worst finals ever, whatever, because there's no markability. So I don't know, man. Personally, as a basketball fan, the game itself, baseline, star for star, I enjoyed it just because the game was a good game. But other than that, it just felt like a regular season game, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't feel like, oh, I'm watching the NBA finals. Like, even going into it, like, I saw my dad, like, it didn't feel like I was watching the finals, right? It just felt like I was like, oh, finals start today. It's like, oh, okay, that's today. Like, we took like a couple days off. We're getting into it. Like, it was no real build. Like, I remember Jake and Allan, y'all remember we used to turn on the TV. We seen the craziest hype video intro to these two teams' rivalry for the last ages. LeBron James looks to win his first NBA. Like, that's the type of intros we had. We had we had intros where we had like singers and stuff doing intros and special songs for it, and just who's the dude who always does like the spoken word light skinned dude, I forget, but he used to do like the little intros and stuff.
Oh, Ryman?
Like, yeah,
he was rhyming everything. Who was?
yeah,
I forgot who that was.
I can't, but yeah, he used to do those intros. Like, it was just hyped up. You seen the clips of each side, everybody. Like, where's that? Like, when do we lose that plot? I agree. Like, it's just, I don't know. It sucks, bro. I hate it. Hopefully it's a good game again tonight, because that's all we depend on. Like, we're not going at this point. Like Jake said, are there going to be adjustments? Probably not. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
I'm hoping for a good game, Jake. I agree. I'm glad you brought this up, because that wasn't even something I thought about, like, talking about, but it is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. And I guess, like, we were just talking about the court, Earl, and, like, here's last year, even the broadcast, sorry. So you got an NBA Finals thing here. Then you do have presented by YouTube TV. So actually, this tweet was making fun of the broadcast and presentation last year, obviously, right? Celtics Mavs. And you got a finals on the court there. You got one on the other side. They're digital now. They're not on the court like the Heat picture we were going over. But then you got a YouTube TV ad there, YouTube TV ad there. It's too much fucking YouTube TV, dude. And by the way, YouTube TV is a great product. They have so many sports games. If you're a sports fan, they have everything on there. But it's too much, and you already have so many subscribers. And it's sad because people were complaining about it, saying the finals here, I think a decent scoreboard, and then the finals here. And it showed the finals on this, whatever this is called, where it shows the ads. So now you have multiple things, all digital, still not my preference or my favorite, but you know it's bad when people were complaining about this last year. And now we've gotten to the point where it's way worse, like way worse. Like last year, if you tuned in, you knew it was the NBA Finals. And I don't think you can say that now unless you're a huge basketball fan who's talking about it like we do. So I mean, the starting lineups thing, you can go on and on. The player jerseys don't feel the same. And so now, like, as a player, like Halliburton hit, if you consider the weight of the finals, he hit one of the biggest shots in NBA history, especially if they win. If you consider the weight of the finals. But will it ever feel like, I know it was game one. I do understand that. Will it ever feel like that? No. Because aside from this little thing here, little in gold, how do you know it's the NBA Finals? And for the average fan, like, you just turn it on. I mean, how do you know? I'm trying to figure out what went wrong. And like Earl said, they're probably not going to make any changes mid-finals. That feels like something they wouldn't do. But it does, and I love this shot. Don't get me wrong. We'll all remember this shot. But it does sort of damper the moment of the shot with how weak the overall presentation was at the arena, from the NBA, on the court, on ESPN, all of it. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Allan, if you have any thoughts, go ahead.
Yeah, at least for me, I'll always summarize the point is, I'll go like a long-term rant, because I also have this issue with in terms of the NBA and sort of these sports in general. But it feels like a simplicity of sports, of at least basketball as well. It's like under Adam Silver, like, they're not pushing big picture. Like I said, they're not pushing the logo. They're not pushing the NBA Finals. They're not really pushing the atmosphere of the tournament, or you could say, like I said, finals. So it's just like, it's just a lot of stuff that goes around pushing sponsorship, pushing corporations, pushing this and that. But it's just like I said, we're losing a lack of creativity, and it's just like, it's on Adam Silver and it's on everyone to be better in a sense. And he did talk to, was it Sam Anick, Athletic, talk about the nostalgia, how a little bit of a social media driven culture, and said he'll look into possibly bringing back the trophy logo. I can't imagine it will be the big one that we all used to as watching basketball growing up, but it's just hopefully that the NBA Finals becomes a bigger adversary, and just more or less like, I don't know if it's just me or you guys have seen is like I haven't seen like the NBA go deeper into the Pacers and the Thunder's like history, and that like we can drive that narrative like maybe Tyrese Halliburton can was it I don't know like do like achieve what Reggie Miller couldn't achieve during his NBA Finals tourney run, or like help the Pacers be a bigger name in history, or at least even like could this young OKC Thunder team achieve what the older big three of KD, Durant, and Harden did not achieve when they went to NBA Finals? And I feel like TikTok editors have gotten into that more than the NBA in general, from my scene, from going like to TikTok and everything else. So it's just like the simplicity of the NBA, and just like they're not being more creative or just throwing darts out there. They're just being safe within these NBA Finals. And I kind of get it, Indiana versus Oklahoma City, but you can still make it a big NBA Finals matchup.
It's so disrespectful. You just said like Indiana, OKC, and like we understand that. We talked about that. But what about those fans that waited 13 years in OKC, or the Indy fans who are, some of them are our age and never seen a finals game in their life? So it's like when you finally get there and the broadcast in the court and the NBA is putting in less effort than they did with Mavs Celtics last year, how are you supposed to feel? And you talked about the simplicity, Allan, and I agree, but are they even doing enough to get by? I don't think so. I don't think they're doing the bare minimum for the finals. So that's again where the complaint comes from. And I think the last few years, you could argue it was the bare minimum. Now, like Warriors Celtics, Mavs Celtics, I have no idea about Heat Nuggets. That's the only finals I haven't watched. But now it's worse than the bare minimum. So obviously the game one was the least watched opener outside of COVID era games. Shocker. And the last thing on that, Allan mentioned the trophy. There actually is logic for the trophy, Allan. You probably saw this a while ago too, but players were actually slipping on the trophy sticker material. So there is logic for that. And I guess I'm wondering, like, is there a better way that you can meet in the middle here? Like, even if you look at Heat Nuggets here, this one's super blurry. But they have the final script on the court. And so I'm saying, like, at least do that. I would probably put the trophy back on the court still, but I think what you said was important. It can't be as big, or maybe not in the middle, but it needs to get back on the court. And this was also Barstool, but I agreed so much. And pardon my take, like Big Cat and PFT. When you go back and you show people highlights of these finals, or you post highlights of these finals, how are they supposed to know it's the finals? What happens one day when there's a huge NBA fan who's 15 years old and they were too young to remember this finals in, let's say, 10 years? They're 5 now. They don't remember this finals. They go back on YouTube and look at the highlights. They're not going to know it was the NBA finals, and it's not going to feel as special to them. And those fans won't engage with the league and the players in the same way that we did. Because when we saw Steph and LeBron, which most people our age, reference, or even like Kobe versus the Celtics in 2010, or, the LeBron Heat, any of those big ones from the 2010s, the 2000s, you can look back at that and be like, that was legendary. Like, that was so much cooler than now, because there's that nostalgia. You watch those on YouTube, even those highlights, and you're like, that was such a cool atmosphere. But what are fans going to think when this is all they have? So this is why, like, this issue is very important to me, especially as someone who loves media, sports media, and then obviously just sports. I don't want to look back at highlights of this finals and not really process that it's the finals. And, the general conversation, making predictions, Allan, just to take it to that next step. Everything in me is saying that it's going to be a blowout in the way of the Thunder. And I think that's kind of like a basic take, because that That is what it is. The better team barely loses in a heartbreaker game 1. They're still at home in game 2. They need a huge statement win. They blow them out. We all agree with that. But I'll say the one thing that defies logic, and we'll all say, is what the Pacers have been able to pull off on this run with the comebacks, but also just how many games they end up in at the end of these games. They're there. And so I don't think a 10-point or 15-point lead is big enough to put them away. My concern will be, like for me as a basketball fan, after we do this, I go drive to my cousin's house. We're going to watch the finals, and OKC's is up 20-25 after the first. And so Earl said that, coupled with the horrible presentation, people are going to start to say it's a horrible finals, especially if the only big moment that happens is game 1. So I do have some concern. And I didn't think it was a good game until the fourth, if not like 10, maybe 10 minutes left. That's when I thought it became a game. So I really, really don't want to see a blowout. But again, my head is telling me it'll probably be a blowout because the Thunder are, this is a good way, like the Pacers are a special team that will be remembered, but the Thunder are the better team. I can promise you that. Even if they lost this series, I would say that. But I don't think they will, and I do think they're the better team. So we'll see. I don't know if you guys have any predictions or anything for tonight as well.
Yeah, I guess I'll end up with my predictions as well. I think hot take. I think I might go Pacers, man. Like, I don't know. Something is okay. Here's my thought process, right? I think the Pacers had 24 turnovers to OKC's 6. They came back, they won. Tyrese Halliburton had a bad offensive game. Pascal Siakam was okay at best. It was more so the role players kind of stepping up. Like Obi Toppin had an incredible game. I give him that. Andrew Nimhart closed out the game well. But dang, like I can't help but feel like, okay, if Tyrese Halliburton has his game of the series where he has 25 to 30 plus and Siakam has like 20 plus, like they've shown to do, like what's to say they don't lock in and understand the stakes here and do that? But the other part of me is the Jake part of me is like, okay, when I see OKC, they get beat up. Their only love after that is go win by 20. Like, it's been proven. So, like, now it's like, to me, it's like, who wants it more? Like, we already know. We've seen the history of both of these guys, both of these teams' reactions after they won a game. I said Pacers, there's no way they can win again after they steal a road game. They did it, right? So, I think it's just who wants it more, man. Like, the Pacers, to me, I made a video about this earlier. Like, there's so much of underdogs, like, in everything. Like, you look at every statistical category. Like, I'm thinking, OKC, better defense. OKC, arguably better offense. Rebounding, I give it to OKC. Like, but the Pacers, they're just dogs, bro. I don't know how to explain it. It's not any statistical thing I can explain to why the Pacers should win this series. It's solely based off of feeling and vibes. But I don't know, man. Yeah, just pure heart, bro. Like literally, it's giving me throwback to like you can say the Mavs versus Heat series. Like, who you have LeBron James, obviously very different situation. I'll say that. But like as far as like team scale, like you would think everyone would think, okay, OKC is definitely having the advantage here, but Pacers just I feel like they just want it more. Like that sounds crazy to say. We'll see after tonight though, obviously. But long story short, I think I have Pacers tonight. But it's either one way. It's gonna be you know what? I'll stand on business. I got Pacers by 10 tonight. Pacers by 10. I think they're ready for the moment. I think Tyrese Halliburton has his awakening game early into the series. And we see some cinematic basketball. So I'm going Pacers, man. I don't know what Tyrese Halliburton's got going on in his basement, but obviously it's working somewhat.
If that's how you feel, go to Novig because the odds are crazy good for the Pacers, obviously. So, but yeah, Earl, like Rick Carlisle guys, both teams, crazy. Go ahead, Allan.
Yeah, I think plain and simple, I'm going for the OKC Thunder. I'm also thinking blowout for this one. I'm liking that spread. Was it like 10.5 for OKC? It's just a matter of like they were the better team in the first half. They caused a lot of turnovers. Obviously, I also mentioned my prediction as well. I know the Patriots have heart, but that heart can dim little, and I see that the heart dimming a little in the game two. But of course, they'll get it back in game 3 or 4 when they go back to Indiana. But game two should be OKC's game, plain simple for me.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think honestly, everything statistically is telling me it has to be OKC, but my gut is telling me the Pacers are going to shock the world. We're going to see what happens. Also, shout out to Reggie Miller. I don't know if you guys seen the reaction to the game winner. Like, it was so cool to see. Like, obviously, we talked about like storylines and history and stuff like that. That would be such a missed opportunity if they don't show that like pregame. Like, how do you not show that clip and break down that moment? Like Reggie Miller, who's been in these experiences, and he came up short to watching Tyrese Halliburton 25 years later trying to do what he couldn't. Like that's something you have to follow. If I don't see that, that's one thing I'm looking for. I'll just throw that in as a bonus. If I don't see any mention of that clip or Reggie Miller watching and reacting to it, missed opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I just pulled up this stat. Like the Thunder, first of all, they tied for the 6th best record in NBA history. And no one's talked about that. They're like 80 wins or something now, right? Yeah, 80 exactly. If you count playoffs and regular season, which is also crazy. Probably one of the highest ever, I would guess. The Warriors, what would the Warriors be? 15. The Warriors would be like 88, that Warriors team, because they lost or whatever it was. But sorry, you guys, there was a record that stood for more than half a century. And I highlighted it, but it was the Lakers outscored teams in 71-72 by an average of 12.3 points per game. That was the record until this season, when the Thunder outscored teams by an average of 12.9 points per game. That was their average game they played, was a 13-point win. So I do understand all the blowout talks, but yeah, when it comes down to heart and gut feelings, it's like this would be the team with the Pacers that you just don't want to count out at all. So very much understand where Earl is coming from. But I would just be even more shocked if somehow now we're going back to Indy 2-0 Pacers. And they did it against the Knicks, but this is such a different test in the Thunder. But I mean, it's Pacers. What can you say? It's the 2025 Indiana Pacers. They are a special team, and despite all the negative stuff I said about the presentation of the finals and all that, dude, we're going to be watching 2025 Pacers highlights for years to come. If not, our kids may be watching that because of the run they've been on and what even Halliburton's done. And I love the stat. I can't pull it up right now. It'll take too long. LeBron has the most like game winners with under 5 seconds in the playoffs history. And it was like Jordan was number 2. Number 3, Tyrese Halliburton with 5. And 4 of them were this year. Unbelievable. Like a list that's LeBron, MJ, and Tyrese Halliburton is something I never thought I would see in my life. So he didn't have a good game. I don't care what anyone says. He did not have a good. I watched the whole game. He didn't have a good game. I wouldn't be shocked if he had a bad game again tonight. But they do find ways to win, and I do think he still deserves the credit because he's clearly the most clutch player in the NBA, as well as I would say a very good leader. And I think everyone's underestimating that because I know Siakam's not a leader of that team. And I think you can argue James Johnson from a certain locker room standpoint. He's still there, right? But Halliburton is the leader on the court. So he does deserve a lot of the credit for what they've been able to do. And what they have been able to do is, I don't know if they were favored in Bucks Pacers first round. I'm pretty sure they've just upset every team, the 3 rounds. And now they're up 1-0 on the Thunder. So I would say overall, this has been like an incredible NBA season. And, we'll keep talking about it as things go. But again, the only thing I would change is the Lakers' success, which is just because we're all Lakers fans.
Yeah, I'll end my quest for 18 takeoff today with one stat here. This is why I'm giving the favor to the Pacers. When trailing by 9+ points in the final 3 minutes of the NBA Finals game, since 1971, teams before last game were 0-182. Now, thanks to Tyrese Halliburton, it's 1-182. And this is not even the first crazy stat like that. First, it was the rounds before in the playoffs. Now, overall, he's taking over finals records. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, I'm sticking with Pacers. And also great show today. I always love talking Lakers basketball, and I love just talking general hoops with you guys too. Like, it's always a blast.
Dude, please, like, the day has to come as we're still doing this, and we will, I think, where we can change the name of the podcast to Quest for 19. Like, that's how I know we made it. And 18 sounds way better, maybe just being a more whole number. You know, it's divisible by everything. 19, you can't, 19 is one of those rare numbers. You can't divide it by anything, right? Besides 1 or 19. So I am still so looking forward to when we can change it to Quest for 19. And personally, we'll talk about it a lot this summer. I'm calling it right now. I think it's going to be next year. One thing I would love to discuss, and I think this is kind of how we should do it the next few weeks, is talk about the finals when applicable, talk about the draft, and talk about free agency and trades. And then Summer League, guys. I want to talk about Summer League. I think I'm going to be going again. Shout out Novig. We'll finish planning that out. But I think Summer League is going to be fantastic this year, despite the Lakers' no first-round picks. And I would definitely expect Dalton Connect and Bronny and Quincy or whoever's still around to play anyway. So I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And the rest of the league has some great rookies. So I'm looking forward to that. But yes, thank you guys for a great show. Allan, I'll throw it over back to you.
Yeah, I'll just close it out at least the draft topic when it comes to at least names that have been interviewed so far. Shout out to Hoop Type, who mentioned a couple names of on there. I'll start with Isan Almansa, who is also G League but has been playing under the Perth Wildcats. I'd pass on him. He's a developmental forward right now, so the Lakers don't need that. Another guy is Omar Abalo from Indiana, formerly from Arizona. I don't know if you guys see him or not. I watched him a lot as you say, fan with him at Arizona. His best years are at Arizona, so I recommend checking out those tape. His Indiana stuff is not the greatest. Some maturity issues. So when it comes to like he got into some fights or else obviously that Indiana system wasn't great and they had a bad season, so that kind of played a part of it. But it is what it is when it comes to that. Another guy is Lamont Butler. Shout out to him. He made the game-winning buzzer beater that sent San Diego State to the finals. That lost, of course, to Connecticut. But he was with Kentucky this year. He'd be a good two-way point guard, two-way contract point guard when it comes to the Lakers. He'd be a decent player. And then next guy would be CJ Hunley out of Appalachian State. He's 6'10", power forward. He has a weird shot. I went to a long description about it, but he has great length and he's an energy guy. His shot looks weird, maybe Joakim Noah formation, but he has a Sean Marion flick of the wrist. It's a weird formation that I think you guys would probably recognize if you did see his highlights or checked it out. He did improve in terms of his increases minutes from 2024 to 2025. It's kind of similar to his 2023-2024 production, so that's a good thing to see. I think prospect improving is great, but overall he's like an energy guy. I'll describe him. Next guy is Isaac Nagones or Nogues. He's sort of a Spanish player who came from Spain as a academy player and then under 19 stuff, and then of course went to the G League. I'm a big fan of him. Comes to his defensive ability, like if you check on YouTube and search his name up, and he did a you see G League highlights. the first couple seconds, defensive pest, like like those badges in 2K, off ball pass, interceptor, this and that. I feel like he has those badges like, when he plays and during his highlights. Like if you check out his stuff, like automatic 30 seconds, he's a great defensive instincts. I would overall describe it when it comes to Isaac from the Rip City Remix out of the Portland's G League team. So I recommend checking his stuff out. Offensively, he stinks. So if you're looking for offensive production, he's not the guy. Defensively, if you're looking for a great wing player who's good defense, he's 6'4", so not the small forward wing type, but could be a good guard defender. Think of like a Jose Alvarado. I don't like those type of like defensive guards you could kindly say. So he would be in that area. Next guy that's last is Clifford Omenuri out of Alabama, 6'11" center. He's your typical 5 that I'll describe him. He's not super athletic, but he'd be a good 2-way player. I put him in a realm of like Vlad Golden, and that he'd be. I wouldn't be against the Lakers drafting him or getting him on 2-way deal, but he'd be fine. If you look at his stats, production-wise, it doesn't look great. But if you watch the highlights and look at his previous stuff, he as a starter, he's scored over 10 points. But like I said, his production did lower under Alabama this year, but he normally scores at least 10 points per game and gets, like as I mentioned, 6.5 rebounds. So he'd be a good center, at least the developmental Lakers were interested for a third depth piece at center. So yeah.
Sorry, my thing's glitching out a little. Yes, thank you for taking us through that, Allan. This is a funny picture I just found of a Lakers draft workout from 2018. It's actually not a bad group. It was probably meant to be like second round guys. And on the same day, they had Alonzo Trier, Shake Milton, Chimezi Metu, and Cody Martin, who all hung around in the NBA. Shake Milton on the team now. Why does it say Shake Milton is 6'6"? That can't be right. Right? That doesn't feel right to me. I watched him. He looked a little more like 6'3". However, what I was going to bring up to close on that with the Lakers draft, Allan, is that every year around May or June, they were posting both kind of, look at that. That's Grayson Allen. They were posting images, and you can go back and look through them. That's like Kevin Werder, right? Like, dude, we had everyone in this building. Images or just like that list that I just showed you in May or June every year, except for pretty much this year where we've seen nothing even. And you had to get those reports kind of from a different source of who was even in the building. So it's definitely changed. And I do understand we don't have a first round pick, but I am wondering, like, are we a day or so away from them posting something? Like this is June 2nd, 2023, June 15th. I mean, it's now June 8th and they've done nothing. They used to do it in May. So I guess I'm just wondering if we're going to see anything and kind of get a sense of who they're targeting. Because it's funny. One of the guys they posted heavily, and I could be so wrong what year this was, maybe 2018, it feels like. One of the guys they posted heavily was Svi Mikhailuk, who worked out for them. And he was, he was pretty well known out of Kansas, and he was going to go in the second round right here. And so they documented this after they drafted him, I think, like right on the day of the draft. But they did end up drafting him after so gave us a really good sense of who they want. And I don't think they want to leak any sort of plans. But I feel like the least they could do is tell us who worked out for them. I feel like that's pretty standard. And now it's June 8th. The draft is in, 17 days, as you said, Allan. Like, and if they stay at 55, dude, I have no idea who they're going to get. And it's so dependent on who does not get drafted. Like, at that point, you're not making a decision. It's like who falls to you, being like the fourth to last pick in this year's draft. So I don't know. We really don't know which direction we're going. Shout out the old place in El Segundo. Used to live by closer to this, and I went to like a Defenders game here, but the new practice facility also in El Segundo is way nicer. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the draft. Thanks for walking us through that for sure. I'm still excited, man.
Yeah, it's more or less like it's kind of interesting that they went for 6'11" centers, looking for forwards and
Right.
sort of guards that are primarily defensively. So I think that's a good insight into what Rob Pelinka and of course the Bus Brothers are looking at right now. And yeah, at least want to offer through this week's podcast. As always, the NBA Finals will be occurring in an hour now. We'll be live streaming that on this page, Playoff LAL. Like I said, shout out to, as you guys mentioned, Novig. If you haven't checked out that spread, check out that spread. I don't know if you guys want to pull it up. Feel free to do so if you want to. And it's just more or less give me a great game. As I said, you going for the Pacers, I think. Me and Jake got for OKC. And like I said, if you have your prediction, drop it down in the chat. If you're watching this later, drop it down, your predictions or reactions to the NBA Finals. Great games, great finals, and everything going on. At least for me, when it comes to at least more production around Quest for 18, we'll be having me and Jake's video around the Big Ten. I finally finished that video up. It's going to be around a 2-hour upload, so I'm either tonight or maybe tomorrow morning I can probably get that uploaded. But yeah, it's in the process of getting uploaded. We're going to talk about Vlad Golden, my and Jake's opinion about him. It's mostly negative, but we find some positives in there. But yeah, it's just our opinion of Vlad Golden. Jake talks about Danny Wolf a bit, and talk about he can get eaten up by Steven Adams. Stuff on that. But yeah, that'll be going up, like I said, in about either after the finals game tonight or either tomorrow. For shorts / TikTok reels, that's still in development on my side. I think
Me
it's
too,
possibly if Earl, yeah,
not
possibly
just
if Earl
you.
or Jake, if
Yeah.
you can edit, was it the Chris Paul segment from this one?
Yep.
I think definitely if we can get that up, that'd be great. But yeah, I think that's all from my side. If you guys have some upcoming projects or anything else you guys want to talk about, feel free to do so right now.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I feel like there's always a lot we're working on. It's like already been enough time away from the Lakers, less than a month, but like already been enough time where I'm like, I miss Laker basketball, right? And I think you can already see this kind of build up. Like the day of, remember we got out, I was like, I can't do Quest 18. I was just so mad, like inside at the team. And you can already start to see the build up to even where Summer League becomes exciting. And I think for all of us, like as huge NBA fans, the draft and Summer League just are very exciting. And so there's going to be a lot with that. There's going to be a lot of content that I do for Playoff Sports Network and Playoff LAL at Summer League for sure. Yeah, besides that, I don't think too much else, but I got to edit stuff too. It's always on all of us to edit and get those shorter clips out, but we've done a way better job than we did in the past already. And there's some good stuff out. So follow along with Quest for 18, wherever you're seeing this. Follow our TikTok, our Twitter, our everything. I'll make it easy for you. Just search up Quest for 18 and it'll come up and you'll see a Lakers podcast just to keep it simple. So thank you guys and great show once again. Hopefully the finals game is good tonight.
Yeah, sounds good. As always, appreciate this time when we can come on here and talk Lakers basketball. Yeah, we're dropping content pretty much every week, multiple times a week. So we appreciate the support. Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, everything like that, X, to make sure you stay updated with what we have going on.
Yeah, at least at the handle is at Quest18Pod for all things social media, X, TikTok, YouTube, etc. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Enjoy the NBA Finals, and yeah, as always, go Lakers. Peace out.